Elon Musk. You hate him or you love him. There's one thing we cannot deny about him. He knows how to make things successful.
You know, there are American heroes who don't like this idea. Neil Armstrong, Gene Cernan have both testified against commercial spaceflight and the way that you're developing it, and I wonder what you think of that.
I was very sad to see that because those guys are, those guys are heroes of mine, so it's really tough.
I can imagine that it's tough. If you look up to people, in your perspective, you're doing something which actually should give you credits, or they should be proud of you because you are doing it, and you get an opposite reaction. I can imagine that you get very sad.
They would come and visit and see the hardware that we're doing here. And I think that would change their mind.
They inspired you to do this, didn't they?
Yes.
And to see them casting stones in your direction.
It's difficult.
Again, you can say whatever you want, but it's the drive and the motivation and the vision that this guy has. I always say it's not rocket science, but what he is doing is actually rocket science.
You expect them to cheer you on.
So they're hoping they would.
What are you trying to prove to them?
What I'm trying to do is to make a significant difference in spaceflight and help make spaceflight accessible to almost anyone.
One of the most difficult choices.
He could have said, I made enough money. I'm not going to continue. I can have a very enjoyable life for another 50 years. You know what? I wish you all the luck in the world. Bye-bye. But instead of that, he's looking at the world and he's thinking, okay, how is the world really functioning? How is society working? How is the economy working? And I think he has a very clear view on that, how it works.
I've ever faced in life was in 2008. I think
I know this story already. It's so nice. I will shut up and just have a look.
Maybe $30 million left, or $30 or $40 million left in 2008. I had two choices. I could put it all into one company, and then the other company would definitely die, or split it between the two companies. But if I split it between the two companies, then both might die. When you put your blood, sweat, and tears into creating something, or building something, it's like a child. And so it's like, which one am I going to let one starve to death?
I think he's using these metaphors not because he wants to use a metaphor. I think he's using these kind of words because it actually feels for him like that. It's actually a child. And if it dies, with all the feelings that comes along with it.
For myself to do it, so I split the money between the two. Fortunately, thank goodness, they both came through.
What was your biggest failure, and how did it change you?
Well, there's a ton of failures along the way, that's for sure. As I said, for SpaceX, the first 3 launches failed.
I use Elon Musk a lot in our trainings. And to make it simple, a lot of people say, I want to get into space. And a lot of people say, we have to go into space. Not Elon Musk. Elon Musk says, we will go into space. And then you're probably thinking, okay, what the heck? It's just a different word, right? But it says everything about the mindset of this man. It's not that he wants to or that he has to, but in his mind, it will happen. Probably in his mind, he's constantly thinking, okay, what's the goal? Where do we go? This is where we will end up. And in order to do so, we have to reject all the temptations that we have. And he carries on. It's very inspiring, for me at least.
And we're just barely able to scrape together enough parts and money to do the 4th launch. If that 4th launch had failed, we would have been dead. So multiple failures along the way. I tried very hard to get the right expertise in for SpaceX. I tried hard to find a great chief engineer for the rocket, but the good chief engineers wouldn't join, and the bad ones, well, there was no point in hiring them. So I ended up being chief engineer of the rocket. So if I could have found somebody better, then we would have maybe had less than 3 failures.
I don't know if you have any idea how difficult it is what he has done with SpaceX. But just imagine if you get so much pushback from NASA, from experts, everybody saying it's not possible. You have money issues, you have all kinds of issues, and you just carry on. It's really amazing, really.
That third failure in a row, did you think, I need to pack this in?
Never.
Why not?
I don't ever give up.
Never give up.
So many people tried to talk me out of starting a ride company. It was crazy. One good friend of mine collected a whole series.
Oh, it's always so complicated because some people really give you good advice. But most people in your surroundings, they always say, no, it's difficult, don't do it, are you crazy? And stay with the knowledge that you have, don't try any new endeavor. Make a plan, believe in it, and just execute and carry on.
Of videos of rockets blowing up and made me watch those. You just didn't want me to lose all my money. We're doing these things that seem unlikely to succeed. And we've been fortunate, and at least thus far, they have succeeded.
Now is the time to take risk. You don't have kids. As you get older, your obligations increase.
I remember when I was in my 30s, I saw a building that I thought to myself, hey, I can develop this building. It's an old building, but it's a very nice area. And I asked advice from somebody from the industry. And the guy said to me, don't do it. It's not the right location. It's not your expertise, so stay out of it. In my 30s, I thought to myself, okay, I respect the guy, so I probably should listen to him. Now we are 20 years in time. And I constantly keep on thinking to myself, why on earth have I listened to the guy? Yes, it would have been a risk, but if you're in your 30s, it could be the case that you go bankrupt. Who cares? You'll start over again and make it happen. But back then I was a little bit afraid, and I was actually a little bit of a chicken, to be honest. So I didn't do it. Up till today, I still regret that I followed up the advice from the guy.
And once you have a family, you start taking risk not just for yourself, but for your family as well. It gets much harder to do things that might not work out. So now is the time to do that before you have those obligations. So I would encourage you to take risks now. Do something bold. You won't regret it.
How did you figure you were going to start a car?
Remember what he said, eh? If you are young, you have no kids, you have no obligations, go for it. What's the worst thing that can happen?
And be successful at it.
Well, I didn't really think Tesla would be successful. I thought we would most likely fail. But I thought that we at least could address the false perception that people had that an electric car had to be ugly and slow and boring like a golf cart.
But you say you didn't expect the company to be successful, then why try?
If something's important enough, you should try, even if the probable outcome is failure.
Oh man, I love this. The story is the following. I always explain to people that probably they're not thinking in real goals. Even if you watch this video, you probably also don't think in real goals. So we have this program where we teach people how to think in real goals. If you have a goal, one of the things that is important that it should have some sort of purpose in it. And he's confirming it. So it's not just about building the cars, make a lot of money, but it's also like that he said, okay, people have a misperception on electric cars. And that's mainly the reason why the traditional car industry is not moving into electric cars. If I can change that, I'm already successful. If you have a purpose behind your goal, it's way easier to really make a goal successful.
Or how do you think about making a decision when everyone tells you this is a crazy idea? Or where do you get the internal strength to do that?
Well, first of all, I'd say I actually think I feel fear quite strongly. So it's not as though I just have the absence of fear.
That's a good thing, eh? Just imagine that if we wouldn't have any fear, people will do very strange things if there's no fear around. Fear is a good thing, but you need to look at the fear. Is it realistic? Can I address it? Can I do something with it? Can I minimize the risk?
Quite strongly. But there are just times when something is important enough, you believe in it enough that you do it in spite of the fear. I think about what technology solution is necessary in order to achieve the particular goal, and then try to make as much progress in that direction as possible. I think being a multi-planet species and being out there among the stars is important for
It's important for the long-term survival of humanity. I think he really believes it. But it's great that you have a vision where you say, we as a species need to go out there. We need to go out and we belong in space. And it's not just a vision where he just speaks about it, but he really puts it into practice. Whether you agree with it, yes or no. Point is that he has fears, he has doubts, but at a certain stage, he knows that it will happen, sooner or later.
Survival of humanity, and that's one reason. But then the part that I find personally most motivating is that it creates a sense of adventure, and it makes people excited about the future.
It's about the narrative. My personal opinion, I think if you look at climate change and the environment, we have a very negative narrative. And I understand it because the issues are real. We really need to address it. But it depends on the narrative that you believe in. And I choose to be hopeful. I choose a narrative where we say, okay, we're going to fix this. What's your narrative? Let me know in the comments.